Hey, this is Shelley from Shelley K Photography, and I'm just quickly going to go over with you how I edited a recent bridal session on the Oregon coast using the VSCO presets, their Pack 6. So I'm only going to use one preset on all three of these images I'll show you in sort of different lighting and scenic situations. So before I apply my presets, I like to have a nice clean edit. So I do pay attention to my histogram. I'm going to bump up the exposure just a little bit here. The VSCO presets, at least the ones that I use, are pretty dark, and so I just want to make sure I have a nice exposure here. So you can see I'm pretty good, just starting to clip a little bit there, and that's just way too bright for my taste. I'm happy with the white balance right now. I think it's 6600. I might increase magentas just a touch. So that's pretty good to me. So one tool I do like a lot that I just recently discovered is a plugin called the Fader. I think it was $5. I can't remember exactly. So I'm going to use the Portrait 160 plus 1. This is a preset I use a lot. I'll use the Portrait 800 plus 1, sometimes pushed 1, sometimes 2. I do like the Portrait 160, 400, and 800 for my film stock when I actually do shoot film. I really like to emulate film with my VSCO presets and all my digital work. And I mean, that's what the VSCO presets are for. It's to emulate different stocks of film. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the Portrait 160. So this is at 100%. So you can change the opacity of the preset if you want. I mean, you can go crazy and even increase over 100. Super contrasty. Not a fan. Or if you're looking for something a little more subtle, you can bring it down. I'm going to go ahead and actually just keep it at 100% opacity. So that looks pretty good to me. I'm still happy with my white balance here. Sometimes after I apply a preset, I might adjust my white balance a little bit. It looks a little yellow to me, and sometimes the Portrait 160 does. So I'm going to go ahead and decrease the saturation. Good. -26. That looks good. Sometimes I like to just go back and see. Again, that looks yellow to me there. So I think I'm going to keep it at -25. I'm going to go ahead and remove the grain. I don't like Lightroom grain at all. If I do apply grain to my images, I'll do that in alien skin exposure. So overall, I'm pretty happy with this image. I would bring it into Photoshop now just for some final edits, possibly with the midtones and an S-curve. So we'll move on to the second image. So again, same model, just sort of different scene, a little bit different lighting. My exposure actually looks pretty good to me here. You can see a little clipping on the white, but that's mainly from this blown out sky area. I'm happy with that. It's a little on the cool side to me. I like my images pretty warm, so I edit warm and I shoot warm. So I went ahead and increased it to 7200K plus 10 magenta. That looks good to me. You can use the dropper here if you want. Pick a neutral spot, but I don't usually mess around with the dropper. So that looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the same preset at 100% opacity. I won't use my fader here. And that looks good to me. The grain especially looks bad in this image. So I'm just going to go ahead and take it off before I do anything else. And I'm still happy with the white balance. It's nice and warm, and that's how I like my images. I'll decrease it a little bit just to kind of show you the difference. A lot of times I see the VSCO presets used fairly cool, and I love that too, but for me, I'm going to keep it warmer. So I'll keep that at 7200, but it is, with it that warm, it's a little on the yellow side to me again. So I'll go ahead and decrease those yellows. You can really see what it's doing to the greens, which I like. So that looks good to me. I think this image definitely might need a boost in the midtones, which I would do in Photoshop. So I'll go to the last image here. And you can see a lot of clipping on the whites, but it's this huge blown out sky. So I'm okay with the exposure. I might actually decrease it just a little. It's pretty cool to me. I'm going to try 7,000. Looks pretty good. She's warmer. Whoa, orange. Let's try 7,200. That looks good. I'm going to increase the magenta again. Just for an overall consistency in the edit. I like my sessions to really flow. So that looks good. Go ahead and apply the Portrait 160. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. I will occasionally, play with the contrast a little bit, whether it needs a little more or a little less. But overall, I'm happy with this image. So the sky is a little blown, so I'm going to try and bring a little bit of that back here. So I'm just going to take my brush, bring a little bit of the background back. Darken those rocks just a little here. Not too much. So then you can play with the exposure slider, so you can really bring it down and you can see where I've gone, and that just looks fake and I don't like that at all. So I think right about here, you can see a little bit of a cloud there, darker in here, background's a little darker. So I like that. So I'll go ahead and show you before and after of all of them. Oh, I can't remember if I removed the grain. I did not. Okay, so I'll show you a little before and after. And then of our next image. So I really like the VSCO presets. They do a really good job emulating film stock. So these images are ready to go into Photoshop just for some final tweaks. I hope you found this video really useful, and I hope to make more, so leave me some comments of what you'd like to see.